Okay.
I reckon you should just do the thumbnail by yourself, and then when people click on it and I'm there, they're like, "Oh my god!" I'll be a surprise cameo.
Hi everyone, it's Grace, and today I have Ben with me from Overly Average Ben. I mean, I'll let you introduce yourself, I guess, but we are going to be doing a review of Betrayal in Winter, which is the second book in the Long Price Quartet by Daniel Abraham, which Ben is prepared. I'm not, but the book is right here. And we buddy read this together. We're going to continue buddy reading the series together. And so we did want to do a review together because we have a lot to say. So I don't know. Do you want to introduce yourself? I feel like everybody that watches me knows who you are, but maybe not.
I am here for the second time for no reason at all, and definitely not only having the screen recorded of me and not my audio. To be fair, that's kind of ambiguous. That could mean just you, just me, that I caused that, and not you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mm. Well, either way, I'm the same person I was in the last time we recorded this, just slightly with less time in my life.
Just slightly with audio.
Yeah. People can hear who I am now, and in this one, I'm not going to say it.
You're not going to say what?
As in who I am. I haven't said who I am. In the last one, I was like, oh, I do skits, that type of thing. This time, silence.
So the people don't get to know who you are.
No, I'm an enigma.
Okay, well, you can remain a mystery, and I will have whoever that is channel linked if you want to like see what he does, because I don't know. Who knows?
It's a mystery.
Okay, so the definite first time that we recorded this that doesn't exist, we started off with pros and cons about this book and this series. And we actually started off with a little bit of a recap of Shadow and Summer, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And also the plot of Betrayal in Winter.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
And I did that.
You did, no, but you did a good job. So do you want to do it?
I mean, I can. It's been a while since we've read this now.
Just throw shade. Just throw
it. Yeah, absolutely. So in the plot of Betrayal of Winter, we start with we're following the perspective of one of the Kai's children. I don't know whether to explain the concept of a Kai. We're in the city of
Kai Maki.
Yes.
Well, city of Maki.
Maki, yes. And we're following the Kai, which is basically the leader of the place. And in this world, whoever the children are, when the Kai dies, they all have to fight, that the males of the family fight for whoever lives becomes Kai. And we follow the son of the Kai of Matri at the moment, as he's just going about his day-to-day business. And at the end, he dies. And then that's the prologue. Going into the plot, we're following the murder mystery of who killed him. We get Ota back, we get Matey back, Marty back, and it's a good old fun party.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the plot, isn't it?
I mean, no, that is the plot. I just wasn't sure if you were also going to go over like a slight recap of Shadow and Summer, but regardless, this just has full spoilers. Like, we'll talk about things that happened in the first book. It's like this book takes place about 15 years after.
Yeah, I think it's 15
after the events of the first book. So like we followed Ota and Mati as like later teens, or like maybe they were 17 or 18 in the first book, and now they're in their early 30s. So there obviously is like a significant time jump, but the events are still very reliant on each other and like connected. So
you can't just pop in here and be like, yeah, I'll just read the second one.
Yeah, I skipped the first one.
Not really a summer kind of person, more of a winter kind of guy.
More of a don't like shadows, do like Betrayal though. Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to go into the doing the positives and negatives like we did last time?
Yeah,
I'm going to constantly make references to like last time.
That
will be how I weave it in.
I think I am too, even though So okay, I think that, well, you went first And you talked about the scale of the plot, didn't you?
Yeah, I smashed it last time. That's the thing about this. I can say that I did an incredible job last time, and then if I do a shit job this time, if I'm really bad this time, I can
Everybody's
just be like,
gonna have to trust you.
yeah, I was like, trust me, last time I was so good, but it was just having to do it again, having to recycle all this energy. Yeah, so my pro is also a negative for the first one in terms of it's the scale of the plot. So in this book, the same as the first one, we're following a really small condensed plot with very few like moving characters that we're focusing on, but it has like threads that reach out to the entire like kingdom pretty much. So if you're a fan of like a large epic, a Game of Thrones style sprawling, remember all these character names and index them down and that type of thing, then this is definitely not it. Like if it had like a character list, like reading a Malazan book, it would just be like three names. But yeah, remember these. Um, so if you don't like, if you enjoy sprawling ones, then this may not be the thing for you. But if you like a small contained plot that's just like so in depth and narrow, then it's perfect. It's you feel like you know every single one of the characters incredibly well, rather than barely knowing 100 characters.
Yeah, so like I mean I agree and you touched on it, but I do think that like if you do usually read super epic fantasy and you want that, it seems like the books are kind of trending in that direction. Like each one gets slightly bigger in terms of plot,
Yeah,
so it's still contained. And there's threads to other places, like you said. So like you can still you just don't get to see them and have a bunch of character perspectives in all of those places. Like
yeah,
you
exactly.
get hints about it and you get hints of things that might be going on elsewhere. And there's still like a big world out there that's just not the focus.
Yeah, which I think is a great way of doing it, because there's nothing worse than it's like, oh, I've set up all these characters in different places. Now I need to get them into the same place. And that's where you get like the expectations hyped in on it, where it's like anything could happen now. And I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. As long as the characters are there, that's all that's been in the entire book so far.
Yeah, because like we have a few main characters where if they are going somewhere, they're taking the story with them
Yeah.
because that's going to be like the important place to be to watch things unfold. Yeah. So like the first one for me is also kind of a pro and a con because like for me it's a good thing, but it's going to be the pacing of the book and like the way that the plot, well, the way that the plot is paced. That's what pacing is. And so like it kind of relates to what you just said, Ben, because since you're following a few characters and you know them very well, it is a very character driven story. So like the plot has enough going on that there's enough content there to still be intrigued, at least in my opinion, but it isn't a fast moving plot where like lots is happening and you're being propelled through it by events that are happening outside of the character's control. Like it very much is more introspective in the characters' actions and motivations, and like they are the ones moving the plot forward, which like in my opinion is a good thing, because when I read a book where it seems like the character is just along for the ride, that's like a complaint that I have, is like it doesn't seem like they have agency. So this is like pretty much all the way on the other end of the spectrum, where it's pretty slow in terms of action packedness. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like I definitely like there was a point in this book where I was, because we were reading like 2 chapters a day or whatever, there reached a point where I was like, oh, I can't wait for this all to kick it. Oh, it's over. We've only got 2 chapters left. And
Yeah.
I wasn't even disappointed by that. I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, and it's a weird one where normally you'd be like, oh, nothing's happened in this book. Whereas it's the same as the first one. I'm like, everything happened in this book. It's just all real boring stuff.
Yeah, like I remember thinking when I read the prologue of the first book, I was like, oh my God, this is like extremely interesting. I can't wait to see where this goes. And then we jump, and like we're not with that time anymore.
No.
Like, and that keeps happening, but it doesn't take away from it because it's the characters that you're concerned about.
That would be my next pro, which I don't think I said last time, but I'm going to say it as a pro now, which is the time jump really works. Because, like, in some series, say, for example, like, it's not spoilers for Oathbringer, but Oathbringer is, in my opinion, the worst paced Stormlight book because
Yeah.
it feels like it's trying to get from one period of time to the next and just needs certain things to happen. It doesn't have the time. Whereas because this is all telling an encapsulated story in 4 different time periods, it doesn't need to worry about well, we need this to happen by this time to get set up this. It's like, as long as this happens by the end of the book, it makes sense what happens 15 years down the line. And all the characters that come back feel like they would. They don't feel like they've completely changed as human beings. You're like, oh, that progression as a human being makes total sense. And nothing happened in the last 15 years of their life because nothing really happens in people's lives. We're just going to follow the 4 big things that happen.
Yeah, like not on the scale of like the events that generally happen in fantasy books. Like people don't just
exactly
have those things happening for their entire lives.
Yeah, it's like everyone has a kid. No one's involved in a plot, like a murder plot. So we're following the murder plot.
Well, that kind of just brings us to another pro, which I feel like we've already kind of gotten at, which is just the characters.
Hell yeah.
Characters are the biggest strength probably of, well, not probably, they are. They are because like you get to know them so well and you like really get to dig deep into each of them. So, I mean, I know you probably have stuff to say about the characters as well.
Yeah. Every single character in this is like reaching into someone's brain and just rifling around, having a good old rummage. And
You might like,
they all,
you might not.
yeah, exactly. It's everything scales up in this book, especially with the characters, where like, say for example, with Hesse from the first book, we're now with a new poet, and it escalates in terms of you're now in his viewpoint, so you see the relationship of them and the Andat. You're seeing Ota and Marty's relationship escalate in terms of they've known each other for longer now. It's not a fresh relationship. It's kind of stained by time. Everyone that you're with has an inherent heightened just kind of connection to, because we already have that ground roots knowledge from Shadow and Summer.
Yeah. I also think they're heavily flawed. Like
yeah.
very real. Like they're not they don't have the type of flaws where it's like, oh well, this character is perfect, but they have this like one thing that like is quirky. Like,
yeah.
It's like it's the opposite of that. It's like you might not want to know any of them in real life. Like they're very, I don't know, they're not bad people. They're decent, but well, some of them. But like they are very just like, I don't know.
Yeah, they are the type of person that you're like, oh, these are really interesting to read in the newspaper, but if I knew them in real life, they'd terrify me.
Yeah.
Which also I just remembered I've just moved my light. I just remembered the negative of yours.
Oh.
Which I believe was the infidelity theme.
Oh, I forgot that I mentioned that because that does bother me. I mean, it doesn't like, it's the type of thing where I understand why it's being done. And I mean, okay, this is still spoiler free, so I won't go into it, but it's the type of thing where I understand why it's being done. And I do think that it's being done well because like we were just talking about, you can understand all of the characters' viewpoints and like you get to get into their heads and understand that while they may not be making the best decisions objectively, you understand why they're making them and how they feel. It's just that for me, infidelity is a trope that like bugs me. I don't love it. I just don't like reading it. And it's been used in both books, but I feel like that says something about how good the book is overall, because I've still given them 4 and 4.5 stars, even though it has this trope that I'm like distasteful of.
Yeah, that is true, that you still like, I think it really shows that you still like the characters. Normally, like if someone's cheating on someone or something, you're just like, I can't root for this person, but it
Yeah.
happens, and you do still, you're like, oh God, I just wish everything will go all right for this person. And I think that's a really good sign of like, normally if there's a character that cheats, I'm just like, can you die?
Well,
Can
and
you
the other
just
thing
die?
is that like between the 3 people or whatever who are involved in each like instance of infidelity, the thing is you can the reactions and the continuation of their relationships with each other is still complicated and complex. It's not like somebody cheats on somebody and then they're like, oh, like I never want to see you again, get out of my life. Like that's
Yeah,
not what happens. Like the part that's interesting is that they all still like orbit around each other in the circle of like the plot and their situations in life. So
yeah.
they're you kind of see them all deal with it internally in different ways, um which is interesting and good.
That was top class. That was top class.
That's the
This
commentary that you come here for.
Okay, yeah. Other pro, the society at large, the pull from Eastern culture that's used in the book, um, and in the sense that a lot. Oh yeah, This is your positive.
The
Is the
pros.
use of prose? Yes, I'll let you do it.
No, well, I mean, okay, it does connect, to be fair. Like those are the two sides of what we were going to talk about because anyway, I really do like his prose because, and I talked about this in another video, but I just find like I find it really immersive, but he doesn't try and do that much with it. Like it is honestly on the whole, like I wouldn't call it simple because I think it's a step above like prose that's just there that's meant to fade into the background, but it's also not flowery. So it's like this really perfect medium for me where like his word choice isn't over the top, but it's just perfect for me to like very much picture what's going on and realize that like I always feel like I'm in his scenes. I think that he does it especially well with conversations, which I know we talked about before, where like you can just get swept up in a conversation as if you are actually just listening to them talk. Like it reads that fast, and then when it's over, you're like, oh, what? So there's a lot
Yeah,
to like about that, about the writing style.
yeah, and then that feeds into how he uses the prose to describe the setting, like the also the cooking as well. Like there are constant references to, like, it doesn't even say, it's not like, oh, it smelled like this. It's just like, yeah, he put these 2 herbs together and cooked this. I'm like, damn, that sounds tasty. And with the description, it's really it relies on our pre-existing knowledge of the cultures he's drawing from, because we're raised to view like ancient Korean, be it Japanese, that kind of culture uh, as kind of, well, foreign to us, that we don't fully immerse ourselves. We're not used to growing up with that or anything, as in personally. Um, so when he describes this kind of thing, he can just say drinking like wine from a bowl, using poses, anything like that. The walls, like the design, the layout, anything. You just kind of fill it in with the faint kind of back knowledge you just already have of what he's drawing from. Like the robes and stuff, the robes just come to your mind because you just kind of fill it in with your own expectation, and it still feels extremely fantastical because it's not what we're used to. I think it's just a great use of like using a different culture to draw from fantasy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I also feel like a lot of the times when fantasy is made about, Eastern cultures, it does draw on an almost like mystical feel. And I feel like
Yeah.
he's tapping into that a little bit, but it's still more grounded than that. It's a good balance.
Yeah, like normally when white people write like Asian cultures, it's very much like it's very outrageous. And it's nice to just see this is just a fantasy world that happens to draw from a different culture. No need to make it weird. Uh and I'm glad he doesn't make it super weird. Oh, positive I didn't say last time in spoiler 3, magic system.
Oh yeah.
Magic system's cool. Very much fits into the
Very
soft,
understated. Very
yeah,
understated.
very stone made soft. No,
Oh.
very very soft magic system in the sense if you don't really understand what's well, I mean the concept of an andat of just being a poem that's for like taking a being and forming it using a poem into a creation makes no sense whatsoever, but I love it.
It's
And
because it's almost like a hard and soft magic system at the same time, where like for
yeah,
us the reader, it like who knows what this poem is. Like they try to explain the concept of it, but like it's very soft in that sense, but in world it very clearly has like a lot of things that you have to do exactly right in order to be successful.
in my head, I kind of imagine it as trying to explain music to someone that doesn't understand music. Where you're like, all
Yeah.
the stuff that you're trying to explain is theory, and like you can read about it in terms of the poem they're creating and everything, and the meaning they're putting inside of it. But unless you experience it and understand, then you're not going to. The same with music. Like I can sit here and explain why I think a piece of music's fantastic, and you'll still listen to it and be like, I mean, that was a song. So,
Oh, to be honest, what I thought you were saying is trying to explain what music is to someone who has never heard music before.
oh yeah, that's also true. That would be a much better way of putting it. Yeah.
that's
Imagine everything I just said was that.
that's what I took from it, and then you kept explaining it, and I was like, oh, that's not what he means.
I mean, you can cut around that to make me look very smart if you want to. But I understand if you leave this in so I look like a doofus in a revenge kind of gimmick against the fact that you didn't record the audio last time.
We're just gonna have an ongoing rivalry
The
throughout
feud.
throughout this video.
Where are we up to in the video? What are we doing?
We did our spoiler free. Do you have
Okay,
anything
so that's
else to add spoiler free that you can think of?
definitely read these if you can find them. They're becoming more and more rare as the Library of whatever the fuck I just went to say.
The
As
Royal
Alan's,
Library of Alexandria is promoting this quite profusely.
yeah, the effect of Alan's propaganda machine is making this harder to find. You will have to buy it secondhand, but I do think it's worth. You're pretty much going to pay the value of a normal book,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be a secondhand copy. But it doesn't really matter unless you're like one of these pristine, like my books must be perfect, which I understand. But personally, for me, like the idea of that page being like folded in half doesn't bother me in the slightest. But
You're lucky. Well, I mean, okay, I live in Canada, but I did find the bind up in an Indigo, and I kind of took a look at like where else they are because I thought maybe that I could pick some up and send them to people who wanted them. But there aren't any like in close enough proximity to me for me to like reasonably go get it because it's not available online. There's only a few in some of the stores, but if you do live in Ontario and you go to Indigo, you might get like lucky and that they have a copy at your store because this is a really great like if you get this, then you don't have to worry. You have all four of them.
that's it. If you're Canadian, you're sorted. Every Canadian should read the Long Price Quartet. Everyone else can pick and choose. Every Canadian is now a a countrywide. Everyone must read it. So is that it done for spoiler free?
I think so.
Wonderful. Then Adan is the best character in the book, hands down, no doubt about it. Adan is the best character in the entire series so far.
Okay, I was gonna like actually start us off.
Yeah, we can just cut that in. It's the only thing that needs saying. You can go now, and then I'll get back to it. But yeah, I'm right.
So that's the end of our spoiler-free thoughts about Betrayal in Winter specifically. Like we mentioned, that had like actually that didn't even have Shadow and Summer spoilers, did it? That's very generalized.
Yeah.
So anyway, but like regardless, we are gonna jump into spoiler thoughts now, where we just kind of talk realistically. Like we have
It's the same as the first
uh,
half.
we're just gonna go where our discussion takes us.
Absolutely.
I know Ben has something to say. Are you gonna say it again or not?
No, I wanted to see how long it would take. A dance the best. A dance. I call her a Dane. I know you don't like it,
You pronounce
but
names in such a way that just like physically.
I am repulsive, so it kind of fits the trend. But a dance the best. I like. That's gonna look so funny on playback. Just you not saying anything. I'm just like I'm repulsive, and you're like, yeah, yeah, you are. But Adana is the best. Adana, her character arc through this entire book is the most cripplingly depressing, but also joyously fun to watch journey I've ever seen. She just, what?
I was just thinking about how you're not allowed to complain about fits anymore because you think that this is the most joyously fun thing to watch.
Yeah, because in terms of, she's not the only character we're following. No, Adan is like, you understand her motives and where she started, and then you're just watching her fall, just her entire psyche, her confidence in herself, the confidence she has in the only people she loves just falter until she's just a hollowed out husk of a human. And loved it. Loved the hollow husk.
I mean, I loved it too. I did. I just think it's funny. It's not something maybe that we should take joy in, but it was very well done.
It
So
was very well done. That's what I mean. That's why it's the best part of the book. Like if her character was not executed as perfectly as she is, the rest of the book wouldn't be as good. Like,
well, yeah, because like we're following their half of the story, her and Adra, while they're still a secret, or not them, but like the fact that they're the culprits is a secret. So we get to watch her have this whole arc basically in
yeah,
private.
yeah, and how the world map like wraps around her and reacts to her. But what I mean is like if Marty wasn't as in the plot or didn't affect things, well, he doesn't anyway, but if he didn't as much, or Ota had a limited role, or Kamai was less in it, if they didn't play as much of a focal point, I still think the book would hold up. But if she did not have such a perfectly executed arc, if it was like, oh, that was good, the book would probably be like a 4-star for me rather than a 4.5 to a 5. Like her execution and her relationship with Adra is what takes it to this is fantastic and some of the best fantasy I've read.
I I agree with you and I see your point, but I still feel like you need the other half because like half of the story is the fact that nobody thinks that it can be her, and that's the
Yeah.
whole like responsibility of all the other characters is to provide you with that.
Yeah, which does, I know it's kind of weird doing it this way because of course we have had these discussions before. So it feels like because I just had a thought that kind of connects to something we said in the previous discussion, which is that the other characters have to prop her up. Like Marty takes, because of the place he needs to be in society for her arc to take place, he doesn't feel like he's making as much of an impact. It's like he has to suffer for her to be the best character. At least for me. I know because you like Kamai. I love Stone Made Soft. So
I love Kamai and Stone Maid Soft. I mean,
yeah,
I love Idan too. Like
yeah,
I do. I just don't know. I'm a lot more torn on who like I think my favorite was, but I like her whole like I think it's interesting that even though you already went over kind of how she falls, I think it's interesting how like marked the difference in time is before and after her first brother is killed, or I guess I should say before she murders her first brother,
yeah.
because at the very start of the book when we're with, oh, I don't remember how to say his name, Bitra, my
Oh, yeah, I call him Betrayal.
wife, when we're with her, then we see basically Idan as like a young girl in love with
Mm,
Adra, and she's talking to the wife, whose name I do not remember,
I don't remember her name.
about him and like basically about young love. And that is only what, like a day, or is that the day of the murder? That's like a
I think
day
that's the day
before,
of.
that's like within 24 hours of
Yeah,
the murder taking place. And then it's almost like a switch is flipped in the reader's eyes after that, because then you realize afterwards that all of this planning between Idan and Adra has been going on for quite a while. So like the external the face that she presented even to like Bitra's wife was so you never would know. You
no,
never would have known
yeah.
until afterwards.
It's yeah, it fits into the also the wife's name's Hyami.
Oh, okay. I remember
Yeah,
that.
that's his.
I wouldn't have
Yeah,
heard on my own.
no, definitely not. What was I gonna say?
Were you gonna relate that to her makeup?
I was thinking about that. That's what distracted me from what I was originally going to say. Is when you said presenting a face, I was like, but then I was gonna say something else. Yes, this is the perfect use of a prologue. Rather than a prologue that doesn't really have any tangible, nothing really happens in this prologue that we couldn't have got in other places or that we know about. But it shows that side of Adan. It also shows the society and how it views the women. It's like a microcosm of everything you need to know about the society, ready to move on and be like, okay,
Exactly.
they're
Because
awful.
like a big part of the succession is the fact that when Bitra dies, Hiyami literally just needs to leave.
Yeah,
Like
it's like, have you thought about
wife
leaving?
as or with a wife, as a wife, she literally has no status of her own. Her status is fully dependent on her husband. Like,
Yeah,
which honestly is crazy to me, even in the patriarchal. Oh my God, how why can't I say that?
patriarchal.
Yeah, you get what I mean. Even
But
in that type of societal structure, um, it is still crazy to me that she doesn't even get to like stay with the new Kai because she's like been a wife for like however many years. It's like, nah, you
yeah,
gotta get out of here. You have to leave.
yeah, yeah. It's like, how long have you lived here? Oh, 5 minutes too long. You need to pack up and get
Yeah,
out of
oh,
here, please.
30 years? Oh, that's cute. Okay, bye.
Yeah. But yeah, it sets up everything, and then of course, as you said, the in terms of putting on a mask, it's shown what I think is heavy-handedly through her use of wearing makeup. Like it is brought up in the prologue, and it does have a resolution in terms of the fact that they constantly reference that she puts on a face. She's such a plain Jane, but when she puts on her makeup, she looks like the best person in all the land. And I don't know, that feels heavy-handed to me. The how much it's brought up. It's like we get it. She's putting on makeup. Jesus.
I kind
Um,
of feel like the whole she's really like pretty with makeup and like kind of plain without it though is almost used as a distraction for the like real progression of whether she's putting on a face or not. Like I feel
yeah,
like
exactly.
he's almost using that excuse as as like a distraction to try and make you think that like it's symbolizing something else when it's really symbolizing like as she's being closer to being uncovered as the actual murder type of deal. So
Yeah, which is it comes around where at the end she doesn't wear makeup, and he makes a point of being like, she didn't even realize she wasn't putting on a face until she was there, and at that point she didn't even care.
Yeah.
So it's like she's been putting on this false front of the sympathetic grieving sister, when really she's been the one orchestrating the entire thing.
Mhm.
So Adan's snaps, we probably talked about Adan a lot, which I think easiest place to go is
But
to Kamai.
to be fair, I think that she's the one like driving the plot. So, but
Yeah.
well, we also talked about like her relationship with Adra and how
Oh
like
yeah.
it was really well, it was really heartbreaking to see it progress through the book because like even though I feel like when we meet her at the start of the book, they still have like some measure of innocence left in their love. Like they are in the planning stages. Obviously, at the start of the book, we do see the murder of her first brother, but like until that point, when they're still in the planning stages, it seems to them more like an adventure and something that is like the means do actually justify the ends, and then it's only once they get in it and they realize like how it's affecting both of them that
Once they become actively involved, I think for Bitra, they've kind of got that an assassin did it. We sent someone to do it, a disconnect. And I think you see it when they have to go kill the when they go to rescue the assassin that becomes murdering the assassin. It's like you can sense Adan shutting off and putting up a wall, and then sensing Adra's weakness there, and his father, and just being like, you lot need to stop pussyfooting around. We need to sort this shit out. And then we see Adra then harden up in response to that. And that sets up the kind of, they become involved in the murders.
yeah,
Um,
because
and
I
of course
get
that,
the sense that like at the start of the book, Idan is still in love with Adra but trying to shut it off because she's trying to shut off, like she's trying to harden herself. And then
yeah,
you see it become real where she like really has lost that like feeling, or maybe not like lost the feeling but knowing that it's never going to be the same. And then in response, like I found it really sad at first, Adra still like actually making a genuine effort to like love her, and her just like rebuffing him, and then
yeah,
it becoming, like you said, the fact that like after they're really in it, then he hardens himself to her as well, especially when he has to go kill her father himself.
yeah. He's very gaslighty in that scene where he's like,
Yeah.
don't ever ask me for anything ever again. I've done so much for you. I just murdered your dad. And it's kind
Well,
of like,
that's one of the that's one of my, I mean, okay, sorry, that was funny, but that was one of my favorite parts, is the fact that they both have their own perspectives on who this is being done for,
yeah,
because it's like in the original planning sense, Idan is the one that wanted this because she obvious like there's the succession is messed up where the
yeah, yeah,
it's even considered, and that's what she wants, is to be Kai. But then at the same time, it's not like they're changing society, they're only changing their situation. So in the end, it's not as though she's going to be the one with the power anyway. So like they're doing this for her, but in the end, she's not going to be the one benefiting from it. They're still going to be like putting Adra on the throne.
yeah.
So she thinks that they're doing all of this, and then he's still going to be the one that it's for in the end. And then they can both view it that way, and they're both kind of right.
Yeah, that is probably the perfect example in this book of where you can understand both characters' judgment and still be like, what are you guys doing? You're making all the wrong decisions for all the understandable reasons.
Yeah.
And that also leads into the affair with Kamai, and the fact that it, like, we spoke about, well, I'm not even going to say we spoke about it last time because of course we did, but the scene of Adan and Adra, where Adan's like, you're just gonna take husbands, yeah, you're just gonna take new wives, like it's gonna happen. He's like, I thought it was just gonna be us two. And she's like, no, we know it's gonna happen, just do it. And then he's like, my mum said this would happen, that you would try to get me to do it because you would want to take someone else. And then she's there like, no, I haven't slept with Kamai.
I would never do that.
You're in the wrong here. And then you see both of them. You feel really bad for Adra in that scene where like you can tell he's being controlled by his family and by her. And that's what causes him to become such a pillar of like, no, all of you lot, like, no, thank you. And like, especially with the Don, where he's like shouting at her and he's so angry, he's like seething with hatred towards the end. And it's like being crushed between like a rock and a hard place he is. And he's just being like squeezed until he pops. And that scene's like I think the thesis statement for their entire relationship is that she's trying to make him do something like stop loving him because she thinks he's going to do it, but then she does it to herself because she's trying to force him to do it.
In a way, it kind of mirrors like what we were just saying about like her hardening herself to him first.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, those things are very much related, but I feel like her denying the fact that she still loved him kind of happened first, and then like the whole affair with Kamai, her doing it like almost proactively. Like, I know that's not the way that word's supposed to be used, but she's like, I know that eventually you're gonna take other wives, so I'm just gonna do this now. Like, that's literally what it is.
It's fucked. There's no other way to describe it.
Messed up. Well, okay, I feel like this is probably a good bridge to Kamai, because
yes,
that is their, I mean, his emotional and personal arc does revolve around falling in love with Idan.
Yeah, and it mirrors Marty from the first book.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like it even mirrors it even mirrors Hashai, because of the fact that he was like the first one that we know of to have like that first love, and then have that problem like where Seedless took advantage of him and his own hatred for himself when like he bound him. And then Mati was that, except he never actually became the poet for the Ondat. And then we see it again with Kamai, and I don't know, I really liked that because you know, I mean, I know that you really like Stone Made Soft, and I did as well. And I feel like this whole book, he's too chill. He's way you can tell. Like, you're like, well, he can't just be a nice, like, docile Ondat. That's not gonna happen. So like, what is he planning?
Imagery for you. Seedless, about growing and that type of thing. He's like writhing through the plants. He's putting his tendrils everywhere in all the plants. Stone Made Soft is quite happy just sit there, rock solid, and just let everyone else ruin themselves.
Shouldn't Seedless be taking the seeds out of everyone else's plans?
Well, he does, basically. He's constantly like, oh, these people are doing that, I could probably use that. And he takes it and wraps it into his own plot. Seedless is a madman compared to but no, you have more. I imagine you have more to say about Kamai.
Well, I mean, I was just gonna kind of make it a conversation. I wasn't sure like whether you wanted to.
The most I have to say about Kamai in terms of his relationship with Adra is not Adra. Idan is interesting, but I do think the relationship, being able to be in the mind of a poet as he's battling with Stone Made Soft with the Andat, is really interesting in this book. And the almost cruelty, like you feel bad for Kamai. You're like, oh, this guy's do this all the time. And then the like shoving Stone Made Soft into a box pretty much at some points, where like he really just like crushes him. And you almost feel bad for Stone Made Soft at that point, because you're like, he hasn't done anything yet. He may be scheming, but he hasn't actually done anything yet. This seems a bit war crimey to me.
It
And
definitely like foreshadows the whole like culmination of their little like conflict though, because the whole point is that he does have quite good control generally over Stone Maid,
yeah,
right? And then Stone Maid Soft is just waiting and waiting and waiting for that moment when Kamai is in crisis over Idan. I mean, even Stone Maid Soft probably couldn't have predicted the fact that Idan was just gonna confess all of her crimes to Kamai.
yeah,
And then Kamai was gonna swear to protect her. Well, he swore to protect her before she even told him what.
yeah. He was
It,
Stomatos was totally sat there like
I mean, I won't
in the
spoil it,
bag.
but it does give me very strong certain relationship from Stormlight Archive vibes, where the person is like, oh, no, I don't even need to, I don't even you need to hear what you did. I'm on your side, babe. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And he definitely jumped the gun on that one because
yeah. No doubt.
but that was my like that was one of my favorite scenes in the book might even be my favorite scene was when he was playing his final chess match against Stone Maid Soft with his brain essentially not working, and Stone Maid Soft is like spilling over trying to take advantage of his like confusion and delirium and like emotional turmoil to finally win the game. But then Kamai finally decides like he actually has to do what's right despite the fact that he loves Idan and
It
actually
was a great payoff.
sell her out. Yeah, I loved it. I know I just said that.
That's maybe that's why I love Adan and Kamai more than Marty and Ota in this book, is because the same way in the first one, Ota and Marty have plots that finish, like
Mhm.
they have stories that are conclusive. Whereas in this one, it's like a bridge to, I imagine, like a culmination of a story in Autumn War or Price of Peace or whatever, Price of Spring.
God.
How dare I? I feel like that's the case, is that this is kind of like a bridging one for them,
Yeah.
whereas Kamai and Adan have conclusive, finalized plots in this, that they have like a setup and a payoff that's really well done. I didn't think about that. Maybe that's why,
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't think
yeah.
about that either. But like
Which will probably be why Ota and Marty will become like the best characters of the entire series, because they're going to be the through line for the entire. When you finish like the third or fourth one, you'll be like, oh my god.
yeah, they're gonna have
Um,
like instead of having a plot like that just paid off in this book, they're gonna have a plot that pays off like in
yeah,
terms of the whole series.
yeah.
I hope. Fingers crossed.
If they don't, I will riot.
If they don't, I'm going to drive to Florida and pick a fight with Alan.
Exactly. And you can FaceTime me at the same time, and I'll be there, like,
Yeah.
just like that. I won't even say anything. Just, you hear that, Alan? Coming for you.
Yeah. Um
There'll be an autumn war.
it's never autumn in Florida. Don't be silly.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm from the UK, where we only have two seasons, which is autumn and winter.
We have all
We
four, so like we
live in the dream.
okay,
You
I
you'll
mean,
have all four in like the space of a week.
I'm ready to get back on topic, but I don't remember what
Okay.
the topic was.
We
Actually,
just finished talking about Kamai and
yeah.
Stomatos, so we could probably go on to Marty.
Okay. Well, I still like Mati, but I don't have nearly as much to say about him in this book
Yeah.
because he was very well, I know that I told you how frustrated I was with him because of the like I wasn't frustrated with the way that his character was written. I was frustrated with him in world for
Yeah.
the embedded sexism where he's like in the library studying for hours being like, I have all the pieces of this puzzle and it couldn't possibly be anyone else doing these murders, like who could it possibly be? And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, we're putting like maybe Adra on like to become Kai, like who could it possibly be, like there's no other, it must be Ota because there, or well, he didn't think that, but like everybody
No.
else, like it must be
Yeah.
Ota because there's no other son. And I'm like, but there's a daughter.
It
So
is ridiculous. Marty feels like almost a use, like almost on purpose, feels like a use of like the idea of being lost in society, where say like you're someone that was you had expectations, or someone had expectations of what you're going to be, you had societal worries, and then suddenly things didn't turn out the way you thought, and you turn out bitter and jaded, and you just don't, you're the worst of society, you've become the thing that you didn't want to be a part of.
I don't know if I would call it the worst of society.
Well, his sexism is like, it is like you're playing to the worst parts of the society you have, type
Yeah,
thing.
okay, that's fair.
And it doesn't help that that he has no proof for the entire book. He's just like, nah, man, I knew Ota like 15 years ago. We
Yeah,
spent a summer together and we fucked the same girl. So I feel like I really know the guy. And it's
that
like,
is a
what
little
are you talking about?
because like as readers, I feel like we understand why he doesn't think that Ota did it, and we also as readers know Ota, but
Yeah.
to literally everyone else, he
Yeah,
sounds
to
so
Greg and Barry down the
ridiculous,
street.
so ridiculous. And Kamai is like, man, like I'm trying to trust you,
Yeah, I'm trying real hard.
but
Us
I
poets
just
got to stick together.
like, he's like, you're just not giving me anything to go on here, man. Like anything at all.
And
But
I do kind of think it's on purpose. Like the role that Marty takes is just extremely frustrating, and it does kind of lower him in my personal thinking. Also, last time we talked about this, I used the example of the Detectorist, the metal detecting show. But this time, I'm going to reference a B movie starring Scotty from Star Trek, the original series, in the
this sounds like
film.
exactly something that you would say.
Exactly. It stars him, and it's called Through Dead Eyes. And the whole thing is that there's a murder in this film. Uh, and the one thing they know for sure is that it couldn't possibly have been a woman, because the person had superhuman strength that could not possibly have been a woman. The one thing they're definitely sure about in this plot is that it's not a woman.
Oh God.
And then at the end, it turns out that a woman did it.
I
And
just
it's,
the funny part about that is that like if it's superhuman strength that like no human could have, then like why does it have to be a man?
well, they're just like, this is one strong geezer that did it. It's not really like superhuman. It's more like, this is a real strong geezer that did this. There's no way a broad did this. Whoa. That's basically the attitude they take.
Just doing
Yeah,
some.
so that's the example. So the best way I can describe is how well the plot the plot of it couldn't possibly be a woman in this is that the closest thing it reminds me of is a B movie starring Scotty from Star Trek when he's like 75, just before they shot his ashes into space,
Oh my God.
which they did do.
His real ashes?
Yeah, when he died in real life, they put him in an aircraft and shot him into space.
Oh,
It's
that's
pretty
nice.
cool.
That's cool.
Only one they did it with, which makes me think they didn't want him on this planet. I don't think he was real. I don't think he was human.
That's probably true.
I think that's pretty much what to say about Marty. I honestly, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'd rather talk about it down for another 30 minutes and fuck Marty off.
Okay, I'm sure you would. Chill. This video is going to be long enough as it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the first book, Mati, I loved him and I wanted that to continue.
Yeah.
He just didn't do as much. So I'm hopeful for him and his role in the future books.
Yeah, I kind of hope he has a redemption arc.
I don't even know if he needs to be redeemed. He just,
No, he doesn't need redeemed in real world, but he needs redeemed to me.
yeah, okay, yeah, I can agree with that.
Like, I need
I
him
don't think that's
to.
generally what a redemption arc means, but cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, I main character syndrome. I'm basically there in the world viewing everything, and I'm like, why aren't you acting how I want you to act?
Okay, so should we move on to Ota?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. I mean, okay, we kind of got, to be honest, the like really interesting characters out of the way, like first,
Yeah.
because I still liked Ota and I still just in general like him and think he's a really good character, but his best moments in this book were his conversations with Marty, in my opinion.
Absolutely. The both of their scenes are together fantastic. Like
Yeah,
when you spoke about earlier, flying through them, they're the conversations that you're like, oh, I finished a
exactly.
chapter.
Yeah, it's like watching
Um,
a tennis match.
yeah. And you like, yeah, they kind of cut each other in different ways.
And
It's
you never
really
know,
fun.
like you truly never know what those two are gonna say to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's not predictable, which is obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
But like I'll go into one of their conversations and be like, this is just very insightful, I think.
Yeah. They do give a lot away to each other. They're I really like it, like in terms of, because there is the idea of talking to someone you've known not even necessarily well, but you spend a bit of intimate time together,
Mhm.
and you feel the when you see them, you're like, it's like no time's gone by, and you could just flow back into it.
Exactly.
The one thing I would say is that what I just thought about is because I think Ota is the same as Marty. He is an interesting character in this book, but I'm going to say it. Kamai, Adra, Adan,
Jesus,
they are,
you can't
yeah,
remember
I know,
your
favorite
character's
characters. Oh my,
name.
what am
Ah,
I doing?
are you?
Um, those three characters, like all those characters, the new characters are character driven. Like the story is character driven with them.
Yes.
Marty and Ota are plot driven.
Ota
They
even
are
more so.
victims. Yeah, Ota is a complete victim to the plot.
He
In
he is swept along.
Yeah, and the more I think about those two, I think it's why I find it so frustrating is that they're so inactive in their own plots.
I mean, Ota, to be fair, until the very end of the book, like in the last few chapters, he is definitely an active, like,
Yeah,
character again. And I really liked that. Maybe part of why I liked the end so much is because he's finally in a position again where he can make decisions and be the one like driving his own actions.
yeah. His literal character development of this book is that he is a plot-driven character. He's being dragged along, and then he's like, you know, like, if you people are gonna just bring me into this anyway, I may as well just
May as
actually
well
do it.
just
It's almost like
die.
I forgot what we have a phrase over here which I forgot what it is. Um, it's something like
Is it might as well?
yeah, it's like if you're a sheep, if you're a goat dressed like a sheep and everyone calls you a goat, you may as well just be a goat. It's some really stupid phrase like that.
Is it
And
same concept? I was like, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck.
yeah, exactly. It's like if someone's going to judge me like this, I may as well do the thing that they're accusing me of. Um, so yeah, Ota is really interesting as always. Like his relationship with Marty's fantastic. I like his relationship with Kian,
Me
and
too.
that he's now found someone that he genuinely cares for.
Me too.
And I like Kian as well. I like characters where they are willing to secondary characters that are willing to put themselves first.
I was
Um,
actually just about to say that when you said that you liked Kian because like she actually had the resolve to be like, no, you need to get out.
yeah, which of course we have. The last time we spoke about this, we had our speculation that Amit Floss got into this whole situation very readily, without the assumed knowledge of what's happening that he guessed. But we had the speculation that Kian possibly told him because they have a part owning of the Way House. They evidently know each other better than we're aware. Yeah, that they have an issue. Like maybe she told him that there's a thing going on where maybe Amit's like, if we go to him and you're with him, you'll become the wife of the Kai if this goes well.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, I think that kind of that changes where we reach the end of the book, and there is the conscious thing where Marty's with Kian, and she's like, no matter what, I'm still like I'm still going to be the person working. Like I'd always prefer the Way House type thing, which makes you think that this
Well,
isn't the case.
I don't think that she would have, like, I still think that what you said could be true, but
Yeah,
that I don't think that it's exactly in that way. Like, I don't think that she would have been after power. I feel like the deciding factor for her would have been like the fact that Ota might become Kai to her would mean like, okay,
safety.
safety, like, like he's no longer like
Also, child.
that's gonna bring danger down on us. He's gonna
Yeah,
be like a solid, like stable option, I guess.
solid geezer. But also, child changes everything.
Yeah, that is a big part of it. I think
Um,
Amit or whatever had his suspicions about Ota.
yeah, I think
Like,
that's what they're trying to get across. I just wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that it's going to be some any what's it called? Do you think that when we this is completely unrelated, it's also a speculation thing. When we go into the future again, do you think Ota would have taken another wife? Because he said he wouldn't. But do you think that would be one of the things they should do to show that Ota may have changed with his power?
I could see that being a plot point. I don't know. I guess we do jump quite a ways into the future, so I'm not confident, but I feel like it could be a plot point where like society is like, you should take another wife because this is like a traditional thing that the Kai always does, and then
Yeah,
he like resists it for as long as he can, but maybe by the time we see him next he does have one.
it'd be interesting. God, I'm really excited to read the next one.
Me too. Good thing it's September 1st, so we're close.
Oh yeah.
um, do we have anything else to say? I don't know.
We've talked about all the main characters, all the main players.
Yeah.
Uh,
Talk about plot speculation.
yeah,
Yeah, for an autumn war.
yeah, because we spoke about I think that that Nayit that possibly either Raw's son could become poet and that we'll follow. He'll be closer to Kamai's age, so possibly we'll see the relationship of him following Kamai, or he's also now just a poet and they're working together or something. We could see that.
Yeah, I like that idea. I
Yeah,
also
I'd
think that next book is when we're going to see the Galts come out into the open.
yeah, oh absolutely. With it being called War,
I
there's
mean,
no
yeah,
way.
I know like that's maybe not the most out on a limb speculation, but I just feel like it's like in the first book, you obviously see that the Galts are there in the background and they have
Yeah,
designs on like trying to seize power, but it's even more woven in this book when you see them making all the contracts with,
yeah,
and like the fact that so many of them are now involved with like the Utkeim, is that how you say it, the families of the
oh, the Kaim, yeah,
but that, yeah, so they're very like trying to get their little tendrils into
yeah.
the northern cities, and I'm sure they're probably doing it in other places too.
Do you think we'll have a perspective of a Gold in the next book? Do you think they'll try to make us feel sympathetic and then we
I
don't know
kind of
which way
hope
to
so.
go?
I kind of hope so because I feel like that's been the trend of the whole book, so or the series so far, is that like all of the characters are being set up as you understanding their motivations.
Yeah,
So I feel like
that's what I mean. I think it would be interesting. I don't know whether they will, but it because it will bring into play whether because I wouldn't be like he's set so far. Abraham has set up a world where I could see the Golds winning, and that when we look back on it, we're like, oh, those two times where they hid what happened, they didn't tell the public about the Golds, they didn't publicly do anything, and they allowed this poison to grow and write its way through their kingdom.
it's
Um,
frustrating.
so I can see that happening,
I
and I
can
think
see
if that
adults winning. I can definitely
yeah,
see adults
and I
winning.
think it's that if we have a perspective of a Gold, I think the Golds will come out on top, possibly. Or like, I don't know, it will be a way bigger, I don't know, I think we have to, partly.
Yeah, well, no, I think it would be a really good choice. Like, I hope that we
We
get that.
Because we can't have a faceless villain for
Yeah,
the
like this
entire thing.
doesn't
It's
this isn't the type of series that has faceless villains.
no,
And like you don't even have evil for evil's sake villains. Like that's not the world that he's building.
no.
So
I mean, we could have because of course Adan is alive,
yes.
and what's his face is alive as well, isn't he?
Adra?
No, well, he no, he's dead.
Oh right. Yeah, he is, you're right.
The Marchat from the first book,
He is. Yeah.
and he was always, I think, younger than uh yeah. So there is a like he may still be at a point where maybe he left and has been getting involved, and that's why the series is going to be so cathartic, is because we get these characters back and they've been mingling
So do
and coercing.
you think that Idan is gonna go to the Gults?
She has to come back,
I don't know where else she would go.
and there's no point of keeping her around apart from for Otar's character.
I know that like Ota basically told her like you could go assume a different identity, but she doesn't strike me as the type of character to do that and then never come
No,
back.
yeah, exactly. It's
And then
like Liat. Liat's definitely coming back.
yeah, like and when I think about where she would go, like what she would pursue, like it seems logical that she might go to the Gulls.
Yeah, she needs power.
Yeah.
There's an assumed level of comfort with living that is required now, and I think the same for Marchat. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Marchat, but we see descendants.
Yeah.
We see the name of Marchat,
Yeah.
because Marchat's the second name, right?
Is it? I honestly don't
I
remember.
don't know, but possibly we'll see references in that sense.
Well, because like in Shadow and Summer, wasn't the whole thing the fact that Amat didn't like what his family was having him do with the Galts? Like
Yeah.
the whole family thing with him.
Oh yeah, of course we'll see the family
So I could
probably.
definitely see like I could see us seeing the family.
God, I'm buzzing for this.
It's gonna be funny with people who have read the whole series watching us
Yeah, that's what I thought.
and be like, oh, you're 100% wrong, or
Yeah, you are all you're terrible. I know people have said that when you read the third one, you want to read the fourth one straight afterwards, like as opposed to the other two where you kind of can take a break. This one is like, oh, you want to continue.
the thing that's
Um,
crazy about that to me is that like there is a time jump between all four, right?
yeah,
So the end
I
of
think so.
the end of the third one, even though there's going to be another time jump, you still want to
Apparently,
immediately. That's interesting.
because people say the third one's the best, right?
Do they?
I've seen Alan say the autumn was the best. I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure I think in Alan's he did like a sub he it was some kind of sub quick Q&A thing where he did a live show, and people were like autumn was the best, third one's the best type thing, and I remember seeing that and I was like, oh.
Well, I do remember Alan saying that he maybe not that he cried, but I think maybe that he teared up at Price of Spring.
Oh god, then I'm gonna weep.
As a
You're definitely gonna weep.
as a crier, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, you'll have to do like a oh no, it wouldn't make sense. I was gonna say like a reading vlog, just it's just you crying for 42 minutes.
yeah, well, I could do that, but then that would mean abandoning you for our reviews, which I don't want to do.
That's true.
But I feel like we are in a good spot to wrap it up now.
I'd
Like
say so. I think we've spewed enough.
I think that this has been an extensive discussion.
Absolutely.
Um
It's quite impressive to talk for so long with neither of us saying very much.
well, yeah, we're good at that. Um okay, well, so I guess I will wrap it up. I mean,
It
this is
is your channel. I don't know whether you knew this.
anyway, Thank you so much for joining me. And I am really excited to buddy read the third book as well in September. And for the lovely people watching, I don't know if you've made it to the end. I will be very impressed if you have. But our plans currently are to do like a joint review for each book, each of the next two, until we finish
Hmm.
the series. And so that is it for this one. This is long. So so thank you so much for watching. Click like if you liked it. Click subscribe if you want to see more from me. And you should also definitely go subscribe to Ben. I said it before, but I will have his channel linked in the description. And I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.